I guess, yeah, the point of this video, and probably most of my videos coming, will be to, in an ideal world, it would be perfect if your homestead could be sort of a closed loop system, a situation that you could build over time where the homestead would provide everything for itself. You wouldn't have to buy feed for your animals, very little food for yourself. As you can see, I'm heading towards the wood pile to do some sawing. I have the sawmill here. Now here's the thing, the sawmill produces lumber that I can use for building, repairs, furniture, whatever I want. The sawmill also produces, as a byproduct, a great deal of sawdust. That sawdust in turn can be put into the chicken coop, as I've already shown, as bedding, makes great bedding. It can be put in your garden as in the walkways in order to be a suppressor for weeds. It can also be put right into the soil because it's so fine. It doesn't rob the nitrogen, so you can add it into your compost or directly into the garden soil. So the sawdust generates energy, nutrients for the garden. The garden in turn feeds me. I can what the surplus is, or what I can't use immediately. But also, then all the vines and leaves and surplus from the garden goes to the chickens. And you want to have fast compost, boy, I'll tell you. You give it to the chickens and 2 hours later you got compost. It doesn't take long. And of course compost piles to generate greater amounts. And then of course also, a lot of courses here, the chickens' droppings and bedding and so on, when you shovel it out, I leave it in there all winter as a sort of a deep base to help insulate the floor. But in the spring, I clean it all out right to the floor, clean everything, and all that material, that mixture of straw, or not straw, I don't like straw, but hay and chicken manure and the sawdust and all the other bits and bobs that get in there, all becomes excellent fertilizer for, actually I put it in the compost pile. It's a bit hot, being for chickens, from chickens. So I put it in the compost pile, let it season till the next year, and then I've got probably over a ton of compost that I can easily generate each year. Easily. Right, boys? Good old Casey, he's an old boy. And Mr. Timber, he's my security chief. Fair bit of work to this, and one thing about homesteading is, the whole thing about homesteading really is that you're trading your own physical labor instead of having to get somebody else to deliver your products to you. So rather than working for a company that you have no control over in terms of keeping your job and what you get paid and the hours and conditions you have to work on, really, here you're doing the same thing. You're working for your materials, your necessities, but you're doing it yourself. So I'm not going to get any deliveries from any gas bills. I'm not going to get any electrical lines coming in. I'm not going to have those bills either. But what I do have to do in return is supply those necessities for myself. thing about that chainsaw. It's best not to ever let it run out of fuel. Always keep an eye on it. Get to know your machine, as you should anyhow. Those two-stroke engines, that particular one on that commercial saw, runs at about 15,000 RPM. And the only oiling that engine gets is the part that's mixed in the fuel. So if it runs out of gas while you're using it, it's spinning at 10 or 15,000 RPM. And for the moment that thing is out of gas to the point where it will stall and die, it's still spinning at that high speed. And if that happens a few times, you can take out a bearing. That's an expensive mistake. So always try and keep an eye on it. Every time you've cut for 10 or 15 minutes, it's time to check your fuel. Yes, I know it's snowing on you. Ice pellets. This area here is where I've been cutting the last day. That represents probably 35 logs that I've worked on, and they're 16 feet long, and I've cut that back almost to 16 feet. I just haven't dug it out the rest of the way, so that would be at least 12 feet, I'm sure. And the actual cutting time involved was, in terms of actual saw running time, it wasn't an hour, not even close. It took me probably 2 hours to dig it all out, because the thing came out from there right out to here, like right out level with those, and right to where I'm standing, right at the end of the same length, of course, and they were all pretty level along the length. And there was that much snow. There's 30 inches roughly of snow all piled up over here. Digging that out probably took 2 hours. And like I said, the actual cutting time of actual saw running time, maybe 30 minutes. That saw, now that's a commercial saw, so it's cutting fast. A lot faster than, your typical farm saw or cottager saw. But still, you can cut a lot of wood in a pretty short period of time. Now that some of the cutting is done, I have a pretty good sized load here. I've been splitting some of it over there. And this is one load on my small trailer. And I loaded a second load because I don't know if you can see that, but I'm going to look over here because you can see it's granular. We're getting little ice pellets. Anyway, we're getting little ice pellets. So I wanted to get 2 loads up here by the shelter where the splitter is, so that whatever the weather does, I can carry on. I was going to show some more splitting, and in particular what I wanted to show was keeping your equipment in good working order. And not the most important reason is just to keep it reliable, but if it's not in good working order, if there's something wrong with it, then you've got another safety hazard with an already pretty dangerous piece of equipment. Most certainly the chainsaw, but don't sell this guy short. If you get your finger in the wrong spot, you've seen the way it rips apart great big pieces of wood. It'd take a finger or even an arm off and just a blink of an eye. So because this video is already getting long enough, I don't want to stretch people's attention span, so I think I'll break this up at least into one more piece, one more section, with basically just maintenance, partly to keep the machines running well, and focusing a lot on the safety aspect of it as well. So I'm hoping everybody enjoyed or got some interest, or at least entertainment out of this, and we'll carry on and do a second part of it as soon as I can get it done. I have pretty much the footage that I need, but yeah, like I said, it's just, I don't want to have a half-hour video. It's hard for people with busy schedules to sit down for half an hour and watch that. So everybody take care. We'll see you shortly.